I like the fiction writing, but the process is like, oh,
But don't you think, though, that the nice thing about fiction writing is that, once you get kind of that first draft done,
do you make outlines? What's your style? What do you do?
so it's kind of, I struggled. When I first started, I really struggled to try and find a style. So I took a lot of classes and tried a lot of different things. I read a lot of books because I wanted to get that story done and done well. So I've done outlining, I've done, save the cat and the romantic beats. And I've like, if there's a plotting method out there, I've probably tried it.
Oh my,
Because number two, and this is more of a, if somebody tells you there's only one way, they're full of it. Have a little bit of a, in your mind when someone says that, no, you must, plot and you must do a 10-page outline. Nah,
and maybe they've never written a book, but they want to so badly. If you could leave them with just one piece of advice, what would that advice be?
oh, one piece of advice to actually finish your book.
Do you dream of adding your very own book to the collection of books that have already been written? Do you wonder where to start or how to finish? Does the idea of writing a book seem too overwhelming? Do you just want to polish up those writing skills or stay motivated? Do you wonder what to write about? Everything you need to help you write, stay motivated, and self-publish your own book is right here on one channel. And why? Well, because it's time to get over the writer's hump and just do it. You can write anything. Yep, you can write a book. Hello, hello, and welcome to a book. Guess what? You are here for another great episode. You know, what we do on this channel is we like to interview authors who have something wonderful to talk about, who have great books out there. And today is no exception. I have a fantastic guest for you today. But before we get started, I'd like to ask you to please subscribe to this channel. You won't want to miss any episodes with all of the great authors that we have. But our great guest today, before we go any further, is Claudia Blood. Claudia, welcome to the show. I'm so glad that you are here.
I'm so glad to be here.
Yeah, this is exciting. So we actually scheduled you about 2 months ago, right? I
Yes,
think
ma'am.
it, yeah. So I've been waiting and waiting and waiting for you to be on here because I know that you have some fantastic stuff to talk about. And I just can't wait to share all of this with our audience. But tell us a little about yourself and how you started writing and what you write.
So I am a science fantasy and urban post-apocalyptic urban fantasy writer. I'm kind of a genre masher. I started writing because I hit that significant birthday, and I had one of those, okay, it's time to do it. A lot of people, myself included, said I was a writer, but didn't do a whole lot of writing and never prioritized to the top of my list for what I would do in a day. And when I hit that significant birthday, I was like, if you're going to do this, you need to do it. And
Mm.
so that was the turning point.
Yeah, yeah, cool. I don't want to ask you what that significant birthday was because I don't want to give anything away. So, so tell me, what is your writing process like? I mean, are you one of these people who sits down and just regurgitates, like what's in here comes out? Do you make outlines? What's your style? What do you do?
So it's kind of I struggled. When I first started, I really struggled to try and find a style. So I took a lot of classes and tried a lot of different things. I read a lot of books because I wanted to get that story done and done well. So I've done outlining, I've done, save the cat and the romantic beats. And I've like, if there's a plotting method out there, I've probably tried it
Oh
because
my.
I'm trying to figure out how to get my brain to sit down was a really difficult thing. And so what I actually end up doing, my process today is, oh, chaotic. I write scenes until I hit critical mass, and then I start at the beginning of it and I write my way through to the end. And I've got a vague idea of where I'm going to go at the end, and we'll see if I even get there sometimes.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So it's a lot.
It's a lot. It's
Everybody's
a lot.
writing style is a little different. Tell us a little about yourself. I think every reader out there wants to know something about the author to the books that they're reading.
I've got a biology degree, so I've
No kidding.
been, yep, rooted in science. And then I ended up switching into IT. So I was a Java developer for a long time.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I'm a
All
techie
right.
geek. I'm a geek. I play D&D, love reading. I'm like, I'm
Hey,
that guy
that I'm sure
older,
that
like,
helps.
hey,
That helps when you're doing fantasy writing, right?
yes, ma'am.
Between that and your sci-fi background. Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, it's
I
pretty fun.
know before we ever decided that you and I were going to connect and do this show, we had a little bit of a conversation about there was a time in your life when you took, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was a personality test that you took, and it sort of helped you with your writing. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct.
I
So,
would love for you to share that
yes.
entire process with us.
So what I did, there is a class actually that I took that got me down this path. And it's Strengths for Writers, and it's based on the Gallup. I think Clifton Gallup is what they're called. They might have renames, but they've got 36 strengths. And the test itself didn't necessarily help me because I didn't understand how to use it, but the class was about using it to understand how your brain interacts with writing. And so the things that, so in this particular test, my top strengths are input learner, achiever, ideation, uh, connectedness, and positivity. So, and it goes on beyond that, but those are my top six where that's where I naturally go when I'm in a situation and I'm trying to deal with something. It's the natural place that I want to do. So I want to read stuff about it. I want to read a variety of things. I want to get things done on the timeline. I think everything is connected. And then I'm just generally kind of cheerful, and I'm always trying to figure out how the pieces fit together. But what that makes me, like, personally, the downside for having that personality is I am a squirrel. I
You're
am
a squirrel.
like, oy vey, like I am like all over the place, and getting me to sit down and actually focus. I've got a million half-started projects, a million different hobbies because everything interests me. And I jot from thing to thing to thing. It's like ADHD on crack kind of thing. So, um, what it really helped me do this particular class is recognize that while the basement of those things, which is where the squirrelness comes from, but it also fills me. So with my input, I need to read in order to keep my well full, but I can't read too much or I'm doing using it as a procrastination sort
I
of.
gotcha.
So it was
Yeah,
kind of like learning between, so it was like looking at the different aspects of my personality and recognizing how I could fine tune to play to my strengths and to
okay.
really find that way to make things happen and to trick my brain into writing, because you and I both know that writing is hard. Any sort of
Yeah.
artistic endeavor, what you do is hard, and you almost have to trick yourself into doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And so I was really interested when you said, if you start to read something, you kind of maybe get a little lost in the research or a little bit in that, and it's a way to put things off. So
Yep.
I recently had a project, and it wasn't a writing project, but I recently had a project that I'm working on. I'm trying to decide on some technology stuff that I'm doing. And so I spent probably 6 hours, I kid you not, researching, watching video, and I didn't pull the plug. And it's like, just do it already. Just pull the plug, do what you're gonna do.
Yep.
And because what I know is going to come in after that is a little bit daunting. And so
Yes.
sometimes when we sit down to write, it's like, oh, I have all of these chapters, and I see big picture. Do you see big picture?
Yep. I
Yeah, I'm a big
absolutely can. You
picture.
can see the picture. Yep.
Right. I'm a big picture person, so I see the big picture, and it's hard for me sometimes to take those bite-sized pieces, which really is what has to be done in order to get to the end. But I see the whole story, and I want to write it all at once, and so
And you
it's like,
can,
oh, I don't
right?
have
You can do
I don't
that.
have 20 hours today to do that,
Yes.
so I'll get to it tomorrow. And then next thing you
Yes.
know, I haven't gotten to it, and I focused on other stuff
Yes.
that doesn't seem as daunting to me. So how did you go about tricking your brain? You said you had to trick your brain. How did you do
I
that?
did, I did, I did. But it was like what you were talking about. So this is one of those tips that I had read in one of the numerous books about getting things done. But it's you have to call the doctor. And for me, I don't know what the doctor's phone number is. And so if I don't have a step that says get doctor's phone number and then call doctor, I will not call the doctor unless they call me. It's just like one of those things. So I have to, like you said, make sure that the goals are small enough and are easy enough that I can sort of step into it. So there's a lot of, I have to have write 5 words, sit down and write 5 words, and don't necessarily worry about what the words are. Just like write 5 words to get yourself at the computer and focus on your story. Like Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like
Sure.
you're
Yeah.
tricking yourself. And 5 words, psh, anybody can write 5 words, especially if they don't have to be good words, right?
Right.
But, but as soon as you sit down and write 5 words, well, while I'm here, here's a little bit of the idea that I had, and here's a little bit of this that I had, and
Yeah, 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 yeah. And so I don't know, for me, what I have to do, there's this little phrase that I told myself a long time ago, and that phrase is don't, do. And I
Ooh,
used to tape this, these three words onto my mirror, don't, do.
yeah,
And it just meant just do something to add
right,
to the end goal. And I'll
yep,
tell you what, for me, that made a big difference. It really helped. I
yeah,
I do find that when I sit down to write, I'm still like, I may have other things that need to be done
mhm.
that I need to do, but once I get to writing and I'm sitting down doing it, 5, 6, 7 chapters later is when I will finally come up for air.
Oh,
You know,
that's amazing.
so yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's really
So
good.
how long then does it take you to write a book?
Okay, so this is the world famous It Depends. I
Mm,
spent one Saturday and I wrote a 13,000 word short story in one sitting. Well,
nice.
like you write, you edit, you write, you edit, you get up, you get food, you write, you write. Like, but it was kind of like this whole, I was just driven to try and get it done. Um,
Yeah,
Whereas, a different book, like, okay, it was 3 years and most of it sat on my computer waiting for me to work on it,
I
right? Because there's a
gotcha.
lot of long pauses between there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know that I have found that if I walk away from my project, my writing project for too long,
Mhm.
then I lose interest in it. And not only that, but I have to go back and keep rereading what I've written because I forget. There's things I
Yep.
forget, like what was that character's name or what did the, and I'm
Yep.
terrible about taking notes. I'm horrible. We had a great guest on a few weeks ago by the name of Tom Lucas, and Tom actually teaches at the collegiate level. He teaches world building for writers.
Fun.
And so he talked a lot about getting yourself organized, get those characters organized, know what you want to say ahead of time. And I am finding more and more, I think the more that you write, the more that you learn about your own writing style. But I'm finding for me, I really do need to take notes and write down. So I didn't start off as a fiction writer. I started off with nonfiction, so I never had to keep track of characters. And
Right.
it was much easier. It was so much easier for me to write because I was just writing what I know rather than what I was making up. But I like the fiction writing, but the process is like, oh, it's a kick in the shorts to get me
It is a huge
motivated.
part. But don't you think, though, that the nice thing about fiction writing is that, once you get kind of that first draft done, and it sucks. I mean, all first drafts sucks. I don't care what people say. They absolutely suck.
Absolutely.
You can then go through and be like, oh wait, she's not called Jerry, she's called Larry or whatever, right? Like you can go through and you can change the color eyes and you can look at those details and go, wait a minute, there's no smoking gun over here, or, whatever it is that's applicable to
Hmm.
the story, and can
Yeah.
work it out. And I do think there was also a both a fear of failure and a fear of success, I think that a lot of writers have. So the fear of success that, okay, what if I do finish my book? I'm gonna have to figure out how to publish it. I'm gonna have to give it to people. I'm gonna have to, right? Like they almost like get themselves so wound up about the end of it that they won't sit down and do it or they sabotage themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know also that there's this little part of me that misses the characters.
Ooh,
So they become part of you. My dear friend and editor, we co-write together quite a bit. Sorry, I think I'm hitting my mic here. We co-write together, and sometimes I get very invested in, she does a lot with character development. Her stories have a lot of characters, and one she's working on right now has several characters that she is doing some really intense stuff with. And she just finished this project, and I'm like, I'm kind of missing the characters.
right,
So
right.
for me, there's almost this sense of loss. Like now what? And then it's everything that you said. Oh no, now I have to format. Now I have to upload. Now I have to
Yep.
market. Oh, let's talk about book
Market.
marketing for just a moment. If you're
Yep.
like me, that is not something I enjoy at all. Right? Right? Yeah. The dream for every author is that they write their book, they throw it up on Amazon, and the whole world flocks to it, and they sell 1 million copies in the first week. And if that ever happens to someone, I'd love to have them on my show because I haven't met
Exactly.
anybody that has happened to yet. There are a few Stephen Kings out there, I'm sure, but for the most part, that's not how that process works. And so let's talk about that. With your personality, how does marketing go for you?
So I read a lot. I read a lot, and I tend to be very let's try this and let's try that and let's try this and let's try that, right? Like, and I see something that looks even remotely close, and I'm like, I don't know, let's go try that. So there's a lot of that. Um, Finding the new covers because I just recently rebranded that my Merge series used to have the previous covers were not really to genre, and I just love the new covers. And that was part of my, well, let's try this, right? You
Mhm.
talk to somebody and they say, hey, I know a great cover designer, and I'm like, okay, well, the covers are doing it for me. Let's try new covers. And so marketing too is about it's the covers, it's the blurb, it's your placement, it's advertising, it's the interviews that you do, it's, all the connections you make in the community, right? Like it's everything.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah. So I'm a
yeah,
squirrel. I do lots of things and I'm like, whoop, whoop, let's try this, whoop, let's try that. And hoping that
yeah.
it all comes together. Yeah.
And I love to learn. I think we have a lot in common. You talk about that squirrely thing, and I'm easily distracted because I like to learn new things. And so once I feel that I have already learned something, it's boring for me, and I want to move on to the next thing. But
Yeah.
so it's interesting we're having this conversation. My second book that I wrote, this first book I wrote was horrible. It was terrible, terrible, terrible.
Most books
But
are,
what it
right?
did is it let me know that I was able to write and publish. I didn't know how to get a book up on Amazon. I didn't know anything. I thought that I had to write something prolific, send it off to a whole bunch of publishing companies and hope and pray that somebody would say, "Oh, that's really good. We'd like to pick you up." And then I found out that I didn't have to do that. So I threw something up there because my business coach said, "You need to have a book if you want more speaking engagements." I
Right.
said, "All right, I don't know what to write
Right.
about." And I wrote a stupid book. It was terrible.
Yep.
But going through the process and then getting that book in my hand and saying, oh, I'm actually capable of doing this,
Mhm.
led me to explore what do I really want to write about? What is it that I really want to say? And my expertise was in business communication. I was a counselor for 19 years and I was a coach for 10 years. I did all sorts of things where I coached people, particularly in the areas of communication. So I wrote this book and we take people through personality tests. And so
Yeah.
there are four basic personalities that people have. We call them personality shapes. We just simplify it. We call them personality shapes. And one of those would be a diamond personality, which I believe, listening to you, you are.
Okay.
And I know I'm a very strong diamond. So diamond personalities are people who they're all about the experience. They love to experience something, and then they want to come back and tell you all about it. They want to share that experience with you. They make wonderful police officers because they don't have to have all of the information before they do something. They just want enough information to know, like, oh, we're going such and such a place and we're going to do such and such. That's great. I'm on board. I don't need the whole itinerary for that. They don't necessarily want to write out all the stinking details. They just want to
Right.
go do it and share the experience. So they make wonderful police officers, wonderful EMTs, because they can quickly go into a situation, assess it, do what they need to do, get out of there, share that experience with somebody else.
Oh, that sounds
The other
fun.
personality trait would be a triangle personality.
Hmm.
These are the people who make wonderful executive assistants because they are organized. They keep everything organized. I mean, I'm giving you all of this in a thumbnail sketch. Of course, if you were
Mhm.
to read the book, then you would get all of these in a broad way and
Yeah.
how they relate to each other. But these triangle people are people who are very organized. They like rules. They like to follow the rules. The rules say you're supposed to be here at 9. I was here at 9. How come you were here at 9:01? That might irritate them.
Right, right.
Then we have circle personalities. Circle people. They are your touchy-feely people. They lead with their feelings. They're not about facts. They don't lead because the chart said. They lead based on feelings. These are usually the people in the workplace who are going to bring cupcakes and cookies for somebody's birthday, or
Right.
sit and want to talk to you about how was your weekend, and they want the real inside details. And
Yeah.
lastly, we have rectangle people. Rectangle people lead with fact. They are very fact driven. They are not led by emotion. These are the people who say, I said I loved you last year. If anything changes, I will let you know. They make
That's
great,
awesome.
they make great scientists. They make wonderful doctors. They deal strictly in facts.
Yep.
So now we know that writing is a form of communication, right?
Hmm. It is absolutely.
Knowing your personality, Trey, because I'm listening to you, I'm like, oh, she's a diamond. She is a diamond. She loves experience and she's all over the place. And so
Yep.
knowing that, how do you think those personality shapes contribute to the writing process? I mean, I have a thought, but I want to hear yours first.
Hey, so, okay, so writing process, I don't know about you, but there's like, okay, there's a number of different levels. So we were even talking about it earlier. So there's that initial concept of the idea, and you need to like bring it together enough, like for me, to move on with it. So that feels like that diamond area where I'm like, oh, I have just enough go, probably
Yes,
helps me start better, right?
right.
Start
Yeah.
and go on with it. The organization you were talking about, like if I had enough of, was it the triangle that was the very organized one?
Yes, yes.
So
Triangles
if
are
I was,
organized.
so then I would be right as I was writing and be like, oh, he's got blue eyes. Oh, he's got brown hair. Oh, he's of this species. Oh, he's on this world, right? And like keeping it organized. I only do sometimes, so I could see like I probably have a little bit of that in me, but it would make things easier, later on.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can see your friend you were talking about where she got into the characters, and I bet that's all emotion based. I bet she like puts herself in there and she is
Mm-hmm.
like, right? And that's how you get like you can really get into the characters and you bring them into your head. So when I'm writing a scene and suddenly the character steals the scene and starts doing these things that are like, I'm like, I would never do that, but dude, that is so you. Right.
Yes, yes.
That's where you let your circle. I could see you letting your circle take over with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
then what was
that
the square?
the
Rectangle.
rectangle personality, and there's only one direction these people can go, and that is technical writing. Somebody has to write the instructions for those IKEA beds that you put together. Somebody has to do it.
Oh, but
It's
can't you
probably
see
a
them?
rectangle personality.
I could see them doing mysteries though too.
Yeah,
Like a
yeah, yeah,
mystery,
yeah. I
right?
can
Where it's a very
absolutely.
logical cause and
Sure.
effect, and you're purposely hiding the different things as you go along. And I can see it because I mean, mysteries, if you don't have that logical through line where they
Oh,
can
no
you
kidding.
read it and
Yeah, I
see
don't
it,
think I could ever
you're
write a
just yeah.
mystery.
Yeah.
I just could not do a mystery. Mm-mm. No. So I think because it's so easy for me to just jump into a project and then do it and want to get out and talk about it, that's why I do better in completing a nonfiction piece of work. I don't know. That's just me. So, what about you? I know that obviously you write fiction, but
Mhm.
if you had occasion to write nonfiction,
I've done a couple of I was a co-author on some scientific papers way back in the day. And that was and I've done some technical writing. And my problem is there's not as much place to have fun, right?
there's
Like
no creativity.
there's
Yeah,
no
yeah,
creativity, right? Like
yeah.
it's very so I think the fantasy draws me because I can make up the rules. Like as long as they're
Oh,
consistent rules and I decide there's demons, all right, there's demons and here we go.
yeah, 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 yeah. That creativity, and I think that's one of the earmarks of a diamond personality is that they tend to just really live in that creativity realm. They do. But starting projects and not finishing
Not finishing.
is
I could see
quite the
that.
trait, quite the trait. So, but you have finished. You have
Yes.
finished quite a few projects. And
Yes.
I would like to show our audience some of those projects. But before we do that, we're going to take a break real quick and we're going to go hear from our sponsor from Victory Vision Publishing. So stay with us and we'll be right back. Hey everyone, are you stuck trying to figure out how to finish writing or publishing your book? Well, let me tell you about Victory Vision Publishing. Victory Vision Publishing is there to help you cross that finish line. They have package plans that are tailor made just for your individual needs. They have learning opportunities where you can discover ways of overcoming some obstacles that you might have. Adam Fleming is a wonderful CEO, and they are a fully staffed team just waiting to help you edit, layout, maybe make a cover for your book. Go ahead and join their email list and check out some of the wonderful books and wonderful authors that they have already helped get published. Yep, Victory Vision is definitely the way to go if you feel stuck and just want some support in getting your book out to the world. You're only one book away from changing the world. victoryvision.org. Okay, we're back. And I want to show the world some of your books and what you have going on. So let's just do a real quick share here of what you have going on. This is your Amazon page. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you are interested in Claudia's books, all you need to do is go over to Amazon and type in Claudia Blood, and you are going to get all of these wonderful books pop up, and you'll get to scroll through those and decide which one is. So how many books have you written? There's quite a few here.
I think 13. I don't know.
13? Okay.
Yeah, something like that. Yep.
Okay. So look at this. And I think they look fantastic. They just look fantastic to me. Which one is your newest one?
Feather of Prophecy is the one that just
Feather? Okay,
out.
this one here.
Yep.
This one just came out. The
Yep.
Merge series, Feather Prophecy. Love it. Love it. I love the cover. Tell us about this book. Tell us about the idea and what the book's about.
So the series is where the world of myth and the human world collided together and kind of mushed together. And so this is a band of heroes that are trying to help save the world. This particular book is number 3 in the series, where we've got a curse, a prophecy, and a witch. What will he sacrifice to free his twin sister? It's about Ren, who's a prince of his people, and his family is cursed, just like it said. And his curse is actually bigger than he thought it was, and the whole world is actually in danger. So it's kind of a there's a romantic subplot, there's a mystery inside of there, there's lots of there's demons, witches, fire. So there's a little bit of everything that brings you together.
Oh
But
my
he
goodness.
does, yeah.
All right. Okay, so listen, because you have so many great books here. Look at this. Just fantastic. Let's see if we can't go back because I want to show people some of your other stuff. Like I said, just go over to Amazon, search for Claudia Blood. You're going to find all of these fantastic books here. Which one was your favorite to write?
I think Company Assassin, that one was my favorite to write. That one is my science fantasy and set in a distant jungle planet. And it's a trilogy and it is completed, so you get to go all the way to the end. But
Nice.
yep, the gist of this one is the bad guy. Can I tell you about the bad guy? Ravine.
Absolutely. Yeah, we want to
She
hear about it.
lost her daughter, and she blames herself. And because she was a brilliant scientist, she created time travel. And so this is the world that she created through her evilness. Sorry, she kind of lost touch with humanity. And it's actually them trying to overthrow her and save their collective world.
Oh my goodness. Okay. And so that is Company Assassin,
Mhm.
the Relic trilogy. And this is book one, but the other two books are out. So
They are out.
nobody's going to get
Yep.
into it and go, oh no, I have to wait for the next one to come out. They could just go ahead and get all
And
three
just go ahead
right
and get all
away.
3. Yep.
Yeah,
And there's even a
yeah.
box set. Yep.
Let's go back over here. So this is the latest one, Feather of Prophecy. And then your favorite, you said, was Company Assassin,
Yes, ma'am.
right? But you
Mhm.
have so many. I don't know. It'd be hard to choose from. You have so many. Let's
I
see.
also like At the Cabin is my second favorite, as funny as that sounds. And
Which
that is
one?
At the Cabin
At
with
the
the,
Cabin. Okay, let's take a
yep,
look at that one. What is that one about?
supernatural suspense. So this is a dog walker and an ex-FBI agent who are set up to die, and they end up having to come together. It's got demons who are hitmen, and it's got doppelgangers who try to impersonate them, and they have to basically rescue their dogs too, but
Oh
also,
my goodness.
yeah, figure out why these people are after them and how they can survive.
So there's a little bit of this mystery going on there.
There
Let's,
is,
yeah,
yep.
let's talk about that. How hard do you think it is to, because mystery is kind of, I don't know, writing mystery scares me a little bit because I don't know that I would I'm not always good at figuring out a mystery when I'm reading it. My husband, he reads books like he devours them. And usually
Yep.
about halfway, he's like, "Oh, I have this one figured out." And I'm like, "I don't have it figured
How did
out
you
yet."
do
So tell me about that. What is that like?
So I have to be frank that it's mysterious elements and supernatural elements to it because you actually at the beginning know who the bad guy is. So it's more suspenseful. And then figuring out why, that's part of the mystery. And so again, like seeing that big picture we were talking about earlier where you like, this is where you're going and now you leave the breadcrumbs going along to try and get there. I think that's the gist of how you write a mystery. And then you hope that you're not too subtle that no one gets it, but
Oh.
not like, hey, look at this clue.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. So
Yep.
kind of keeping that balance then.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, listen, go on over. I just wanted to show this one more time. Go on over to Amazon, check out Claudia Blood. And I know you have a website as well. And so I want to share that with everybody. You have a beautiful website, Claudia. They're just fantastic. So if you were to go over to, I think it's just claudiablood.com, is that
It
right?
is. Yep, kept it simple.
claudiablood.com. You can just go check out you have a lot going on here. You've done a lot with your website. It's fantastic. All of your books are there. So somebody doesn't have to go over to Amazon. They could just go here, click on the individual books that they are interested in and just go get them that way. So that's one way of doing it. But you did some blogging for a while. You've done
Mhm.
other interviews. You have some media stuff and people can just go check you out. And I think one of the cool things, I'm going to go stop this for a second. I think one of the really cool things about what we're doing today, is that readers have an opportunity to get to know the author a little bit. There have been so many times when I've read a book and it's like, I would love to sit down and have a cup of coffee with that author. I want to know something about them. And this gives people an opportunity to do that. Do you ever
Correct.
wonder? I do. I don't know, but do you ever wonder about the readers? Like, who read your book?
I do. And then when they and I do get email and when I get it, I am like thrilled. I like dance around a little,
Yeah,
such a dork. And I'm just and I respond back to all of the emails and it's so thrilling when someone says they loved my book or that they really like the characters or whatever nice thing that they have to say. So,
right. Yeah. Oh,
yeah, but
such
I
a
do
good
wonder.
feeling.
Yeah, like do they read all of the books or do they like just the science fantasy or do they like the mystery or like right? Like will they go across genre?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I love getting that feedback from the readers. So I think about them and I want to know about them too. What did they
Absolutely.
take away from the book? What was their favorite part? All of that stuff.
Yep.
So answer
And
this
did it
for
work,
me.
right? Did it work? Did you know what the ending was going to be? Did anything surprise you? Because
Yeah.
you got to the end and you're like, oh yeah, I totally knew that's what was going to happen. I'm going to be like, that's awesome.
Oh. See, I'm afraid that if I tried to write a mystery, I would just give it all away. I'm not good at keeping secrets. Just give it all away. So tell us, because I love to encourage people to
Yes,
write. We
yes,
no longer live in the day and age where people have to wait for permission for somebody to tell them that they can write. Anybody can write a book. And that's our message in this
yep.
program, is that anybody can write a book. So tell our audience what it was like the very first time you got a book published and you held that in your hands. What was that feeling like?
Surreal. Could it had been so long and I'd been working so hard to become a better writer and to figure things out. And just like you're saying, right? And it was so surreal seeing that book. And there was a little bit of oh my God, I did this. Right, right? Like that you get. So I would absolutely encourage people can write books. It's not I think people like the one piece of advice, if I had to give someone a brand new writer a piece of advice for, doing their book is, you know yourself. So if you take those personality tests and you do those other things and know yourself and figure out how to make it happen for you. So if plotting doesn't work, it doesn't make you not a writer. If you can't
Right.
plant, it doesn't make you not a writer, right? Like what all these other people
100%.
do, what I do, that does not, you just have to okay, figure out the things that if you're really good at organization, then use that to help yourself write and to trick yourself into writing. And you too can
Yes.
absolutely write a book.
Yeah, because I have had so many people ask me, Laura, how did you get your book published? I want to write. Or they have a book that they're sitting on.
Yeah.
Well, it's not good enough. I don't think it's good enough.
We're the worst judges
Or
of
they
our
don't know
own.
what to do. They just don't know what to do with it. They have
Yeah.
this manuscript and they don't know what to do. And so I have people who come to me and say, how did you do that? I want to do that. And I
Yep.
think everything you said was just such fantastic advice, because sometimes people have this idea, well, I really want to write a book, but it has to be a novel or it has to be this type of
Right.
book, but they're not geared that way. They're
Right.
not, that's not for them. And so, and I had to learn that. I learned that the
Yep.
hard way. I
And
found
there's
out
nothing wrong with
what I
that. That's
enjoy
okay.
working and what I enjoy writing and what I don't,
Yep.
and what I will write and what I won't. I have started several projects that I didn't finish because I flat out was not passionate enough about them. Then there are some that I finally finished because I allowed myself to get distracted. But that
Yep.
doesn't mean I wasn't passionate. I just, you know,
Yeah.
because I'm
Right.
easily distracted. So, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, yeah, those personalities can definitely dictate what we
Hmm.
write, how we
Yep.
write,
How
and
we
even
write.
even why we write. So
Absolutely.
I know so many people who will write because they're motivated by, I write a lot of lead magnets because I'm motivated by building my business brand. And then I know people who want to leave a legacy, you know. Um, I have a friend who wrote a book about, it was a three-generational writing project that she did. It was her mother's writing, her grandmother's writing, and hers. So these three women's voices that she
Yeah.
put out there because she wanted to leave a legacy into this world of all of these writings. So
Yeah.
different things can motivate different people, but that also taps into her natural personality. She's more of a circle. And so I'm that diamond personality again. I'm just going to
Yep.
rush out there and do it. So I think it is wonderful that you found a way to work within that, because I think, and I'm saying that because I think a lot of people who are like you and I, who love different things and we bounce from one idea to the next idea,
Yep.
sometimes don't end up finishing things. But you
Yep.
did. And I think
Or
that
give it
is
up.
wonderful that you figured it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do think it is playing to your strengths. And so, what is it that a diamond can do to keep them engaged over the life
Mm,
cycle of the project? Right. Because, like you
right.
said, we wander away. So, how do we get ourselves back to the desk and getting it done?
I think the high that you get from that end result, having that book in your hand, seeing that in print, I don't know about you, but I didn't write because I wanted to sell millions of books. I mean, I didn't think I was ever going to be a professional, that this was going to be my career. Writing was not going to be my career. I wrote because of the personal satisfaction that I got, especially when you are somebody who does bounce from one thing to another, that book is permanent. It's there for all time, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Pretty
Yeah.
cool, pretty cool.
And I
So
kind
I,
of feel like, oh, sorry, go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, 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 no. I want to hear from you. Go ahead.
No, I was just thinking that it's so funny because I want to, growing up with all of the reading that I did and how immersive and how
Mm.
it made my life better. When I would lose myself in a book, it made everything around me better. And that's my motivation for writing. So if there's a reader who's touched by it or who's entertained by it for a little bit or gets a different perspective on the world, which is what I think reading is really good stories are good for, then I'm a success. And if I don't sell a million copies, that's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so and that's probably, I have to tell myself, look, you're not a marketer. Writing books is not gonna, it's not going to be your living, and you just need to know
Right.
that. That's me. I'm not saying that other people don't. We're going to have a guest on this show next month who is a marketer, and he has sold hundreds of thousands of books. I mean, just gobs of books,
Yeah.
maybe not
Yeah.
quite that many, but he has sold a ton of books and he knows that's what he's dialed in on. He knows about marketing. And so that's not my thing. I write for the passion of it. I love the end result. I love getting that book in my hand and seeing that project. So yeah. Well, we're going to go one more time over to your Amazon page because I really want people to go and check you out. I definitely want them to go check these stories that they can get immersed in, that they can, escape with. So let's go take a look at that real quick. Here we go. One more time. Let's go on down to you here. So one more time, I'm going to share this for y'all. If you're just now jumping into this podcast, kind of, a lot of people just kind of script through and you missed something. I want you to make sure that you know where Claudia is. She is on Amazon. You could also go over to her website. That's just claudiablood.com. Very, very easy to find. And go check out all of the wonderful books that she has. Let's see if we can't go there real quick. So this is her website, and you can find all of her books there. And just lose yourself, get in some of that fantasy. Yeah. All right. Claudia, this has been fun. This has been fun. I
Thank
really
you.
do appreciate you being here. So if if you were going to come up with just three things that you think knowing your personality
Okay.
would help you in writing, what would those three things be?
So me knowing my own personality or like getting
Anybody's, yeah, anybody in general.
So I think it is keep trying. So try new things. And when it doesn't work, don't take it personally. Then it's a process problem, not a person problem, and keep trying the next thing. So, so that would be, I think, number one. Number two, and this is more of a, if somebody tells you there's only one way, they're full of it, right? Because we are all different people. And just because it works for them doesn't mean it's going to work for you. So like, have a little bit of a, in your mind when someone says that, no, you must, plot and you must do a 10-page outline. Nah, you don't have to. Maybe you do. Maybe that works for you and that's fine, but you don't have to. And what would be number three? It's another permutation of the keep trying. So, if you lose energy at night and you really want to do your project, try writing in the morning. If you
Beautiful.
right? Or write over lunch or pair it with something to give yourself a, okay, writing you might hate editing, but you get to do something fun when you're after, when you set a timer,
Nice,
right?
beautiful.
But something, keep trying different things to tweak your time and how you do your motivation so that you find something that works for you and you keep on moving. Because like you said,
Wow.
if you don't keep moving, you're never going to get done. And even 4 words every day will still get you a book eventually.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. What is your overall motivation? And then I'll let you get going here. What is your overall motivation to keep writing? What motivates you?
Oh, I still have all these stories that want to come out. That's so silly. I do. I ended it with the last book with Feather of Prophecy, and suddenly there was a dragon egg, and I want to find out what happens to the dragon egg and you know and how that relates to the overall world. So,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. So I just want those stories to come out. I love it. Everybody's motivation is different, right? Just like
absolutely.
their personalities are different, their
Yep.
writing styles are different, their motivation can be different as well. So, oh, Claudia, it's been fun. Last thing I'm going to ask you, if you could leave our audience, especially those that are interested in maybe they've never written a book, but they want to so badly, if you could leave them with just one piece of advice, what would that advice be?
Oh, one piece of advice to actually finish your book. Um, this is going to sound so silly, but I really had a change when I found a community of people to be with to help with the process. So if you were truly serious about writing, I would find a community because they can
Mhm.
help you with the highs and lows. They can give you advice when you're feeling bad, and you've got this wonderful sounding board. And the writing community in general is an amazing place.
So generous. That has been my experience. When you surround yourself with other authors, we are a bunch of giving people. I love it when I get to inspire another author and they say, "Oh, thank you for that idea. I wouldn't have thought of that." Or I was just helping somebody with a cover this morning that they were working on. And what do you think about this? I was like, "Well, I might do this." And I just love that. And I have found, like you, that being in community is so important because writing is a very lonely process.
Lonely
So, yeah.
process.
Yeah. No, nobody can do your typing for you. Nobody can get inside your head for you. You have to get it out. And so it takes care of that loneliness. Yeah. Yeah. Claudia, it has been such a delight. I am so glad that you agreed to be on this show. I am so glad
So
that you
much
are
fun.
here. We're going to have to do
Yes,
this again sometime. When you get your next book out, you let me know. We're going to have to do this.
yes,
But
ma'am. I appreciate it. That'd be fun.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, listen, you have gotten to hear from Claudia Blood today, and she is a fantastic author with some wonderful books. Go on over to her website, claudiablood.com. And as always, thank you for watching, and God bless.